Okay, next speaker is Pierre Jolivet from CNRS, who's going to talk about recycling.
Okay. So thank you. I will talk first about block method, but I do also some recycling. So just as an introduction, I will use the following tools for doing the numerical computation. I will use the Krylov methods and some DD methods from HPDDM, and I will use FFM++ as a finite element kernel. So those two packages are developed in France. You can find it on GitHub if you want, and I'm guessing you all know about PETSI and SLEPSI. One drawback, let's say, about PETSI is that you only have access to really basic Krylov solvers, and inside HPDDM we have developed some more advanced Krylov methods. So for example, block GCR-ODR, which is a block method that can be used to recycle some information if you have to solve a sequence of linear systems, for example. We have also implemented other techniques for symmetric definite positive matrices, so the breakdown-free block conjugate gradients. And we also have some tools for performing enlarged Krylov methods. So basically, you are interested in solving a system with only one right-hand side, but you split your right-hand side in multiple right-hand side, and so you need to solve a system with multiple columns in your vectors. So the way we can adapt the HPDDM and change the parameter is basically the same as in PETSI. So you have a list of parameters, and you can change what kind of Krylov method you want to use, what kind of variant you want to use. So for all Krylov solver, we support right, left, and flexible preconditioning. If you are only interested, for example, in right preconditioning and GCR-ODR, you can also use other packages like Belos from Triminos, but they don't support flexible preconditioning. So that's one of the advantages of using our tool. What's important with block Krylov solver is that you need to perform QR factorization of dense distributed matrices. So we either use Cholesky QR factorization or QR factorization through CGS, classical Gram-Schmidt or modified Gram-Schmidt. So unlike traditional Krylov solver, block methods are really sensitive to deflation and inexact breakdown. So for that kind of problem, we have to add another parameter in the Krylov solver, and you can set it to whatever you want. Okay, so I told you about block method and enlarged Krylov, but I need to motivate the need for block method, block Krylov solver. So there are a few advantages. First, they have a higher arithmetic intensity. So if you want to do a mat-mult, it's supposed to be performing better than a single mat-mult, for example. You do fewer synchronization with more data, so it's supposed to be more to fit more on modern architectures. And sometimes you can converge faster because you have an enlarged Krylov subspace, so you have more search direction at each iteration, so you're supposed to converge faster. So just to highlight the first point about arithmetic intensity, what I'm plotting here is basically the performance of the matsolve. So it's the red column on the most left of the figure. So this is the efficiency for the matsolve and for the mat-matsolve. So on the axis, I increase the number of right-hand side that I'm using inside my mat-matsolve, and in different colors, I'm using a different number of threads. So in this test case, I'm doing mat-matsolve on the Maxwell equation factorized by MEMS, which is a direct solver developed in our team. And basically, what you can see is that if you want to efficiently use the computer resources from your node, it's always better to have a high number of right-hand side because the forward and backward solve of direct solver are not really optimized for high number of threads with only, for example, one right-hand side. Okay, so that was a little bit about block methods. Another technique which I'll present in the numerical results are subspace recycling. For subspace recycling, the idea is to solve a sequence of linear systems. So for example, if you are doing a Newton loop or time stepping, and what you can do with some methods in HPDDM is to basically say that you want to recycle part of your Krylov subspace generated from the previous iteration for the next solve. So you have a set of parameters. You can say which part of the of the spectrum of the Eisenberg matrices you want to recycle, so smallest in magnitude, largest in magnitude, and so on and so forth. And so that's a different way to choose how you want to recycle your subspace. So now I'll talk about some new results and some new interface with the PETSI solver. Basically, what we have added in the last few months is a callback to HPDDM from within PETSI. So we have added something which is KSP register HPDDM, so we can register all the HPDDM Krylov methods. And when you do a KSP solve inside PETSI, it will be the GMRS or the block GMRS and so on from HPDDM, but using the matmult and the PCApply from PETSI. So this is really convenient because you can try block Krylov solvers or recycling techniques with any kind of preconditioner, any kind of matrices from PETSI. So here I'm just showing an example. If I want to do recycling with Hyper as a preconditioner, so I just do PC type Hyper, and as a KSP type I use HPDDM, and then I switch to the HPDDM options. So it's not it's rather easy to look at it that way, but there are some efficiency issues. For example, if you want to use block methods, what's important is to work on matrices instead of column vectors and doing a for loop, for example, and computing a matmult as a for loop over all of your column of your mats. So first you need to, it's better to use something like a matmult instead of a for loop with multiple matmults. And also you need to have a PCApply with matrices instead of a loop over each column of your cells direction. So unfortunately, it's not possible to implement for all preconditioner in PETSI because most PC involve communication, and so it's not trivial to generalize a vex scatter with one vector to a vex scatter with multiple vectors and so on. So fortunately, there are some communication avoiding preconditioner in PETSI, which are really simple, but those are the block Jacobi methods with either incomplete factorization or exact factorization in the subdomains, and also direct factorization for the complete matrix. So that way, we can actually use those tools and define block methods that are optimal. So basically, if you are giving to HPDDM a PC that use factored matrices, we can get the factor matrices using the PC factor get matrix, and using those factor matrix, we can switch to a matmat solve instead of a PCApply, and so on. So that way we can handle matmult and PCApply optimally. Instead of doing a loop on all of your columns, we can do a single pass and a single matmult or matmat solve. So I'll try to do a quick demo. So as I told you, I'm using FreeFrame++, and I will just solve two simple problems, which is a diffusion equation. And because this morning we talked about complex valued problem, I'll then do Helmholtz equation. So the first problem, for example, I will solve a diffusion problem with Hyper as a preconditioner. So this is nothing fancy, but oops, sorry. Okay, so I'm just showing you what's going on, and so you can see that I'm using the PETSI KSP. So I'm doing 4 matmult, and I'm doing 5 PCApply. And so I can try to use HPDDM enlarged Krylov solver, for example. But since we have an optimal preconditioner, there is nothing very fancy to look at. Okay. So I'm solving exactly the same problem. But now, because I'm using enlarged Krylov subspace, instead of doing matmult, I'm doing matmult. And so we can see that we have to apply the preconditioner much more time, because you cannot in Hyper call PCApply with a set of vectors. You have to apply it for each vector. So of course, this is an optimal preconditioner. It's useless to use enlarged Krylov subspace for this kind of problem. But if we go to Helmholtz, for example, Helmholtz, so I'm doing a block Jacobi with LU inside the blocks. So this is the real part, this is the imaginary part. And we can see that we are doing 86 mat mults, and we have to apply the preconditioner 87 times because I'm doing right preconditioning. But basically, next you can do enlarged Krylov, and so for this kind of problem, it can work quite well. And so now the solution is the same. And I'm coiling the mat-mat mult and the mat-mal solve, so it is handled efficiently, and we can see that we are only doing 28 iterations instead of 80 iterations. So it's working quite well. Sorry. Okay. So now I'll switch to some application and numerical results. First, a set of toy problems, let's say. We took some PETSI example and we modified them to use HPDDM Krylov solver. So this is inside the SRC KSP examples tutorial. So this is the 30-second example. It's a simple Poisson equation. And we just switched it to modified it so that we solve a sequence of multiple systems. And so if we compare the recycling technique without and the Krylov solver without recycling, you can see in the red curve that you are doing fewer iterations. So it's nice to gain some time. These are not the optimal preconditioner parameters. They are just parameters so that we can see the effect of recycling. Of course, for Poisson, you just do hyper and it works out of the box. So you can see that because you do fewer iterations, it works. It's faster, of course. And this one is a comparison with another technique in PETSI which does recycling, but only inside the cycle of your GMRS. So it's the loose GMRS. And so it's example 56. So this is elasticity equation. And once again, you can see that you are doing much fewer iterations if you turn on the recycling within the sequence of solves. Okay. Another problem is this time the Maxwell's equation. So this is not trivial to solve this equation because we are not in the eddy current formulation. So for example, you cannot use IMS for this kind of problem. And so we are interested in doing the Maxwell equation on an imaging chamber. So basically, all of these waveguides are used as emitter and transmitter. And so you need to solve a linear system for each of those waveguides. So you have 32 waveguides and you have 5 layers of waveguides. I will just concentrate on one layer of waveguides, so only 32 right-hand side. So this is the magnetic field. And the following slide is just to show you that the preconditioner with only one right-hand side is working well. So we compare it with GMG and ASM. So this is a high order edge element discretization, so it's not trivial to solve this with multi-grid solver once again. And just to show you also that it scales rather well. So this is just one single right-hand side. I'm not interested about block methods. But now what I'll do is solve the system for all 32 waveguides. So I need to do 32 KSP solve if I don't have block methods. And so the first two alternatives are basically GMRS, so if you use PETSI, or GCR-ODR, so if you use recycling within the solves. So you can see already that just switching the KSP type, you can have an efficiency of 1.7, so it was 1.7 faster than the standard Krylov solver. And of course, when you turn on block methods, it's much faster because you have higher arithmetic intensity and you converge faster. So this is not done in PETSI because PETSI does not have PC apply with a mat. So this is done inside HPDDM for the method with blocks. So then you can choose to do different techniques. So either turn on recycling or non-recycling and so on. So I'll just skip that part, let's say. Okay. Okay. So two last application. The first one is linear stability analysis. So we are solving a generalized eigenvalue problem for stationary Navier-Stokes equation. We are using a modified augmented Lagrangian preconditioner. So it's a field split, and we use an approximation of the shear complement using a PC composite. And we just are interested in what's going on if you turn on recycling inside the Krylov shear method from SLEPC. So this is the first example. Let's assume that you can do GMRS with an infinite dimension, so you do no restarts. So what's interesting to notice is that if you turn recycling between the different solve of your Krylov-Schur method, you can converge faster. So that's interesting numerically. And the results are even more interesting when you have actually to do some kind of restart inside your GMS in your Krylov-Schur method. I have 5 minutes left?
Yeah,
okay.
Just under that, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so in the abstract of the talk, I mentioned the matrix-free solver, so I will talk about the matrix-free solver, but it's somehow disconnected from the rest of the talk. So for now, I'm switching to the radiative transfer equation. So this equation models how photon evolves in material sciences. And this is a high-dimensional problem because you have an integral differential operator, and you have a dependency in space, so the x, and also in angle. So you are doing a problem in 5 dimensions, so x, y, z, and longitudinal and azimuthal angles. So you can do a lot of different solvers. So you can do ray tracing, you can do Monte Carlo, and what we do is a deterministic solver based on a finite element discretization plus the discrete ordinates method. But one problem with this kind of method, when you try to use general purpose finite element code, for example, is that the size of your finite element space increases as the size of your discrete ordinate discretization. So, for example, if you use a sphere discretized with 2 directions, you have this time, and so as you refine the discretization of your sphere, you have a vectorial finite element space that increases in dimension, and if you use FreeMix or FreeFEM++, for example, you end up with 64 P1 finite elements, and so even with this test case, the JIT compiler from Phoenix fails. So what you need to do basically, what we did basically is reformulate the problem and use a matrix-free formulation. And so in this matrix-free formulation, we are using only a fixed number of finite element spaces. There is no dependencies anymore on the number of direction, on the number of angular discretization. So this is not interesting, but basically you can wrap this inside a match shell. So you have to rethink of the way you define your matrix vector multiplication because you don't have the full operator. You have to define a new preconditioner, of course, but we can solve rather large problems. So, for example, with 248 direction, we end up with a 1.1 billion degrees of freedom system, and so this is really highly coupled. If you divide this number by this number, you end up with roughly 36,000 degrees of 36,000 unknowns, non-zeros per row. So it's much higher than your standard Laplacian, let's say. So this solver is used in material sciences. Sorry, the picture is rather huge. So basically, you look at the parallelepiped and you impeach it with a laser on the left-hand side, and you look at how the radiation travels in the parallelepiped. And so we can handle specular reflection. So inside at the surface of the sphere, the photons are scattered back inside the medium, and so on. So it's rather nice, and that's about it. So just to sum up, apart from the matrix-free solver, we have presented efficient block methods. They can be used we can also use recycling and enlarged Krylov subspace method, and it's purely format agnostic. So if you are not using PETSI, if you are not using SLEPSI, we use that also for boundary element methods, so it works rather well. Thank you.
Lawrence?
I wonder, so you said one of the problems you have is that like lots of the preconditions that PETSI offers don't fit into
Yes.
the thing because they don't have like a block application.
Yes.
Mode. I wonder, do you have any ideas about what would you like in the PETSI API so that you could do all this stuff and make everything available?
I mean, so the thing is that right now we are working with people that have their preconditioner inside PETSI, and so it's really a burden to take care of all the communication. So basically, it would be nice to have some way to say, okay, instead of doing a vex scatter with only a single vector. It would be nice to have a way to say, okay, do the same vec scatter, but instead of only having one vec, you are using a MatMPI dance, and so you do the vec scatter for Okay.
Do we have a code to convert a scatter in SF? No, yet. The other one, yes.
There's nothing to convert a scatter to SF, but if we just reflex them, I would save it.
Okay.
And then you wouldn't have to do it. And in fact, that's what happens in network, right? In network, you specify these structs, and then it makes the SF based on that struct that does that. So you can do the same thing, and you can take advantage of this tensor structure you have.
Okay.
Can I have a look at the size of 12
Right.
precision?
Yeah, and the results. Yeah, here. No, yeah, this one. So, you compare iteration number.
Yes.
You compare also the time.
So for this test case, unfortunately, JMG is out of the picture because it never converged. So for the optimized restricted Attity-Schwartz method, we build the matrix from within the finite element kernel. So it's really cheap. It's almost a no-op because we have already the local operator. We just need to modify the boundary interfaces. We just put Robin boundary condition. So it's
So how did you modify how did you implement the RSC?
so it's just an Attity-Schwartz method, but instead of using the inverse of the local blocks, we modify the boundary condition and we use Robin boundary condition.
Yeah, and how do you come quickly?
So I use FreeFrame, so I just say, okay, instead of having a Neumann boundary condition or a Dirichlet, I just put Robin, and so. So of course it's not algebraic.
Okay, so that
It's not algebraic.
using
Yes, it's using the discretization kernel to discretize the Robin boundary condition. And for ISM and with one or two level of overlap, it's done inside PETSI, and it's rather costly because because of the high degree of the finite element kernel, it's not cheap to just add one level of overlap because you have a lot of dependencies. I don't remember. I think there is something like 200 non-zeros per row. So if you want to just add overlap, it can add up.
All right, let's thank Pierre again.
Thank you.
We need to go back to the workstation. Where is your foot on the workstation?
Yeah, I believe it is, yeah.
Sorry. All right. My technical assistant will help.
PC 25.